In 2003, a banker sent an email about wallpaper that was very sad. That email changed the history of TV. Kevin O'Connor used to make six figures at Bank of America and now hosts the most trusted home show in America. He made $7 million, got nominated for Emmys and built a business, but something bad has been going on. He won't even say Bob Villa's name. He speaks out against HGTV shows. Cast members are leaving the show. Now strange stories are going around about what will happen to him. Kevin is ready to tell the truth after months of rumors. Even his biggest fans will be shocked by what he says. Kevin O'Connor's story doesn't start on TV, it starts in the middle of a building site. He was born in Maplewood, New Jersey in 1968 or 1969 into a house that never felt finished. Kevin grew up with dirt and scaffolds all around him. He has 4 brothers and 2 sisters. Because his dad was a construction engineer, their house was often used as a work site. The kids didn't ride bikes or play tag. Instead, they passed around hammers and helped pour concrete. Kevin knew how to measure wood, hang walls, and read plans before he even went to early childhood school. He was learning how to make a door while other kids were learning their times tables. It was crazy and loud, but that was normal for him. He learned more than just how to build things there. He got a sense of how buildings work from that. In the end, that sense would set him apart from every other home improvement TV host. Things went wrong for him when he was 19. Kevin started passing out suddenly while he was in military training. He would just fall down over and over. A heart problem was found after tests by the doctors. It wasn't just a small problem. It made people really wonder if he could even stay in the service. But this is where things get weird. All of his medical records from that time on have been lost since that diagnosis. Gone. No one could say the reason. In old age, that lost piece of paper would give him trouble, especially when he tried to find out about his health history. The event changed the course of his life. Any hopes he had of joining the military faded, and he was left with doubt, and the need for a second plan. He had to rethink everything, like what kind of job he could have with a heart problem that wasn't on the papers anymore. So he turned to school. From 1986 to 1987, he went to St. Benedict's Preparatory School in Newark and finished. Kevin needed a tough school that expected him to follow the rules. After that, he went to the College of the Holy Cross to study history. In 1990 he finished. History may not seem like a natural subject for someone who would lead a construction show, but it gave him important skills like how to do research, how to connect ideas, and how to make things clear. He wasn't done yet though. He went back to school and in 1999 got an MBA from Boston University. That led to high-stakes jobs in the business world. He wasn't just book smart by the time he finished school, he was sure of himself enough to be in boardrooms and do well. Kevin didn't just get a job. Getting a job in banking was easy for him. He first worked at Fleet Bank in their group that deals with sports banking. This wasn't a dull job in a desk. He helped pay for stadiums and other big sports centers. He wasn't just adding up numbers. He was building the places where people from cities got together. Top execs were impressed by his ability to think effectively. That opened the door to a bigger chance business real estate. He quickly moved up at Bank of America after joining. Kevin was a senior vice president by the time he was in his early 30s. He was in charge of million-dollar investments. The job paid well, and he had stock options and bonuses. Everything that came with living a high-flying business life. That's a lot of money for him. It looked great from the outside. Then he shocked everyone. Kevin O'Connor gave up. An important title, a bank job, and a paycheck that most people can only dream of were taken away from him. Why? He never forgot the sound of tools, the smell of sawdust, or the way a well-built wall feels when you touch it. Kathy O'Connor and Kevin O'Connor bought a lovely Queen Anne Victorian home in Beverly, Massachusetts, in 2003. It looked like a dream when it was built in 1894. But that dream fell apart quickly after they moved in. Each room in the house needed a new look, from the kitchen to the bathroom to the bedroom. But what is the real nightmare? The wall covering. It wasn't just old. Many coats of paint had been added on top of each other. There were a lot of bad design choices in every room. Kevin and Kathleen scraped those walls for months. Victorian homes often have rounded corners, which made things even more difficult. The wallpaper wouldn't come down. Kevin said afterward that we were scraping like crazy, and this stuff wouldn't come off. Kevin took down walls and put up new ceilings to make the kitchen bigger while Kathleen worked on the painting. It was late, they were angry. And they were stuck. They sent an email out of pure panic. Not just anyone, but to the cast of This Old House, the show they had grown up watching. That's what they didn't know. At the same time, the show's makers were making a new show called Ask This Old House. It could not have been better timing. Kevin said in the email that getting rid of that image had to be possible in a sneaky way. He didn't expect anything, just a cry for help. The crew replied, and they didn't just give tips. They said they would come to Kevin's house and film a piece. Kevin was very happy. He thought this was just a one-time visit from his builder's heroes. He didn't know it though, but this visit was about more than just painting walls. It was a test that was kept hidden. Episode 22 of Season 1 of Ask This Old House was shot by the team. It aired on March 6, 2003. Everyone on the set was interested in Kevin. He asked questions over and over, not even during lunch. Tom Silva, who worked on the show, hardly had time to eat. Kevin later made fun of it by saying that he kept calling Tom during breaks. But the makers paid close attention. They saw more than just a person who was upset. They saw someone who was comfortable in front of the camera and asked the same questions that people at home were asking. This person seemed like a host. Kevin even ran out to take a picture with the group after the shoot. Taking a shot to remember the moment, he told them he'd never see them again. But after 3 weeks, something strange happened. Kevin got a call at work, no less. He was a senior vice president in Bank of America's business real estate group at the time. He thought it was someone asking for a loan when the phone rang, but it wasn't. The people who made this old house asked him to host the show. Not just the spin-off but also the main show. He believed it was a joke, being sure he'd be back at the bank in a year. He even asked his boss to keep his job open. That's how fake it seemed. It was real though. These people didn't just want him. They were willing to put the whole show's future on him. That was a big deal. Because this old house had been through 2 very big changes. Bob Vila was the first. He was the first host starting in 1979 and made the show famous all over the world. At first though, Vila only made $200 per show. He was only making $800 a show, even in his last few seasons. He made somewhere between $47,000 and $188,000 over 10 years in 235 shows. That's less than what many contractors make in a single year. When Vila started making ads for Rickle Home Centers, things got really bad. At the same time, Home Depot and Wire Osar were paying for the show. He was okay with PBS, but the station later changed its mind. They told him to pick between the show and the deal worth $500,000. He picked the money. He was fired right away. He learned about it from a news story. Steve Thomas then came along. He was a host for 14 years and won an Emmy in 1998. He did not show up on TV again until 2003, when he was 50 years. There was no goodbye episode or big news. There was only a hazy word that they wanted to ski and sail. Insiders thought it was strange. He helped make this old house the most popular show in its genre. All of a sudden, he wasn't there. He was working on smaller shows for the DIY network. People were left confused. The producers were scared. There would be a lot of pressure on the next person. Still, the person they chose had never worked in TV before. Kevin O'Connor never tried out. He never sent in an application. He didn't ask for the job. He got it though. There were more than 400 people who were considered to replace Thomas. Then after one shoot with Kevin, they gave up. Kevin and Russell Morash, who created the show, were sitting in beach chairs in the basement when Kevin got the offer. There was no formality to it at all. There was a very good reason why Morash hired him. He had been with the show since 1979. He said that in Kevin we had found the right balance of hope and energy, 2 things that an old house owner needs to stay alive. People didn't greet Kevin O'Connor with a handshake or small talk when he moved into this old house in 2003. Richard Trethewey, the show's straightforward plumbing and heating expert, just gave him a shovel. Kevin, who used to be a senior vice president at Bank of America, found himself making holes for sewer lines out of the blue. This wasn't a TV show. It was real work that was very hard. There were no cameras there. No quick fixes. Richard was putting him to the test. Kevin, was he there to look the part or to earn it? Every bump and sweat drop taught me something. Kevin said that the most important thing he learned was that rule. Don't talk, just listen, and let the professionals take the lead. His whole career would be shaped by that hard lesson. He was being scolded by more than just Richard. Tom Silva, who is the show's master builder, also threw him right in. Kevin wasn't asked to act like he had a saw. He told him to cut real wood for real builds because he knew the cams would catch every mistake. Tom wasn't interested in TV hosts who looked good. Not just someone who could talk about the skill, but also someone who could learn it. Kevin trained for hours away from the camera to learn how to hold tools, measure accurately, and work safely without slowing down the team. He wasn't just turning into a host. He was joining the group, and people could see it. He struggled, learned, and got better, just like they did in their own sheds and yards. Then there was a surprise that nobody saw coming. Kevin was up for an Emmy in 2004, just 1 year after making the show. Great service from the show host. The business saw something in him even though he hadn't found his groove yet. Some people were shocked by the choice because they thought a finance guy shouldn't be running a tech show. It took years for Bob Vela and Steve Thomas to become well known. Kevin did it in just 1 season. How he got along with experts, how curious he was, and how honest he was. Those things were important. That Emmy nod was proof of that. He did more than just host. He changed how people watch TV shows about house repair. During those first years, Kevin changed in some way. He came to the conclusion that he didn't enjoy standing off to the side and asking questions. He loved nothing more than jumping in with a hammer and putting blocks. Getting sweaty with the crew. That made everything different. Kevin didn't just watch and explain things, he became one of the students. He turned talks into working together. The experts didn't just answer his questions, they also taught him. They were teaching millions of people at the same time. People could relate to Kevin better because of this style. It also made the show feel more real and grounded. And that's exactly what caught their attention. Ask This Old House had the same sense of realism. Since its start in 2002, the show has been meant to feel like a magazine piece. It got much bigger when Kevin joined, though. He wasn't just a guest at the house. He went to real houses, fixed real issues, and got his hands dirty. The way he got the job was what made this crazy. He was caught while taking down wallpaper in his own house. No TV experience at all. A guy who needed help with a task. Kevin had been the star of the show for more than 20 years by 2025. He not only ran the show, but he also joined the editing board of This Old House, where he helped shape stories for both TV and print. Kevin went from being a finance guy to building franchises in a way that was hard to believe. But he wasn't done yet. Yes, he started a third show called Inside This Old House, the same year he became host of This Old House. It showed what went on behind the scenes of some of the most famous events in the show's history. He worked at Bank of America and did all 3 shows at the same time, which is crazy. He didn't quit his job until he was sure he could do this for a living. Being so careful made his success stand out even more. He wasn't after fame. He was making something that would last. Plus, Inside This Old House showed the background of the brand and immersed Kevin even more in the world of home renovation. In 2010, he did something that no other host of This Old House had ever done. He jumped to talk show TV. Kevin went from public radio to television without missing a beat when he got this new house on DIY Network. The show, which I co-hosted with Amy Matthews, was about smart home technology and new ways to build. It was risky to try a new population and approach, but it worked. The show was nominated for 2 Emmys, and Kevin showed that he could be a leader on both PBS and in the business world. He was chosen by the network because he could explain hard things in simple terms. He became one of the most trusted names in the business because he was credible on TV and learned a lot in real life. Then came his biggest project for himself, writing a book. Kevin put out The Best Homes from This Old House in 2011. It has more than 200 pictures showing the most amazing changes that the show has ever seen. It was unique because it was so personal. He made it with Mike Casey, a friend from college who took the pictures. 2 friends, an idea, and a best-selling book. Fans got to see inside finished homes and hear stories from behind the scenes for the first time. It was more than just blocks of glass and walls. It had to do with people, families, art, and beauty. Kevin became a member of the editorial board for This Old House magazine after the book sold very well. His voice now formed the brand on TV, in books, in print, and online. Kevin O'Connor didn't mean to make a fuss, but one interview turned the HVAC world on its head. When asked about DIY shows today, he didn't hold back. He told most of them straight out they were BS. Not only boring or lazy, but also not worth anything at all. Some of them, he said, couldn't even keep his attention for a second. That one line spread through the business world like flames. People were shocked. Some guests were very angry. There was more than one person talking. The face of This Old House was the most well-known name in home improvement TV. Kevin didn't give up, instead he stepped up. He said that these reality shows were tricking people by showing changes that could be done in just one weekend. Costs that didn't make sense, and unrealistic deadlines. People at home were trying to copy these changes. But they were failing, he said. It wasn't because they were dumb, but since the shows were fake. That made me angry. Some people in the know praised his honesty. Some people thought he was cocky and trying to control who could teach home improvement. But Kevin wasn't just mad. It was clear to him that this was not a place for fun or learning. On the one hand, networks like HGTV turned home improvement shows into reality shows. The other option was PBS, which Kevin was proud of because it taught real skills. He named it the War of Ideas. He said that television shows made people wasteful. Fast flip a house, make it look nice, and sell it for money. He did, however, want to draw attention to the real workmanship that goes into building a house. He even said that these shows with lots of lights were bad for you. People thought they could gut their kitchen in one weekend and do it right. And having that view could hurt people in real ways. Soon HGTV stars began to fight back. People said Kevin didn't get their point across. They weren't putting up churches. They gave regular people hope that they could make things better at home. Kevin didn't move as the gap got bigger. People were most confused by what Kevin didn't say. Who built this old house in 1979? It was Bob Vila, who left in a cloud in 1989. Kevin never once talked about him. Bob was getting paid $500,000 a year to host a show that was paid for by public television. It became an issue when he backed a shop that was competing with Home Depot and supported the show. Kevin didn't say anything even though he was forced to leave. Not a word in over 20 years. Not a tribute. Don't judge. Nothing. Insiders believe that the silence is on purpose, a smart move. In the world of home improvements, Vila is still a big deal. Bringing up the past could make things worse. Kevin has always thought about the big picture and avoided fights that didn't help him. He kept friends with people on both sides of the business, even when things got rough. There is one place, though, where Kevin won't be quiet. Skill at work. If you say something bad about how houses were built 100 years ago, he will correct you. He says the old builders were smart. They were smart about what they did with what they had. It was cheap to get coal. There was no fiberglass protection, and power tools. Don't bother. Some homes did not have insulation, but that made sense back then, though. Kevin says that current builders laugh at these choices without really knowing what they mean. He also doesn't like the tiny house trend. A lot of people say that smaller is better. But Kevin says that being big doesn't always mean being inefficient. He says that a new 5,000 square foot house can use less energy than a 1,000 square foot house from 15 years ago that wasn't made well. That got him into fights with people who study sustainability, but he doesn't care. Before they judge, he wants people to understand. There is a man who has done very well for himself behind all of these ideas. Kevin makes about $10,000 a show for This Old House and Ask This Old House. As of 2022, they had hosted more than 380 shows, which brought in millions of dollars just from TV. Look at Bob Vila, who started out making only $200 an episode and reached their highest point of $800 by the end. That's more than 12 times Kevin's rate. He made between $500 and $200 a season. In terms of money today, that's about $15,000. But Kevin did that in just 2 shows. His net worth is thought to be between $5 million and $7.68 million right now. But TV isn't the only way to make money. Kevin is now a big name in the speaking world. He makes between $15,000 and $50,000 for each speech. He doesn't just talk about hammers when he gets there. He gives whole businesses new life. There was a big gardening trade show in Kentucky in 2024, and he was the main speaker. His Crest-sponsored talk was mostly about the future of contracting, tools, and how to keep up with changes in the business. The talks aren't just about money, they have to do with power. They help him get in touch with builders, makers, and business leaders. He's not just a host anymore. He is an expert, and that reach makes it possible for businesses to work together, spend, and make smart deals. That's where Kevin's past life comes in. Before TV, he was very interested in home banking. He was a vice president at Fleet Bank and Bank of America, where he set up loans worth millions of euros for companies and professional sports teams. They told him things about the show that most TV hosts don't know. He knows when to put his money wisely. He knows how to make things work. He also knows how to make money. He has carefully put $5.1 million into Bridge Stocks, which is the company where he is CEO. Those things bring him about $1.5 million a year. He also didn't buy his family a fancy new house. He bought a Queen Anne Victorian home in Hamilton, Massachusetts that was built in 1894. It's more than a house. It makes a statement as a showpiece and fits with his brand and beliefs. Kevin O'Connor did not just take over a show. He made a mark on history. He somehow kept it going through some of its worst times. The hardest part came in October 2022. The soul of this old house, Norm Abram, left it. He had been there since the first show in 1979. That's 43 years of dirt, sweat, and the best workmanship in the world. He was more than just a builder. Norm took over as the show's face after Bob Vila left. Norm was in charge of the projects and explained the hard parts for years. He even filled in for Kevin when he had to, like when Kevin's son was born. It was like the show lost a part of its soul when Norm left. Kevin didn't freak out though. He carefully planned the change. He made sure that people didn't get confused. He slowly added new people to the show while still keeping Norm's spirit alive on TV. In the same way, Roger Cook had to leave because of health issues in 2020. Roger started working for the company in 1982 and was the quiet leader in landscaping for almost 40 years. He brought peace and knowledge to every yard. His absence might have left a hole, but Kevin was careful about how he dealt with it. She was slowly added by him, and he made sure the show still felt like this old house, and not a restart. How Kevin dealt with these changes was very smart. He respected the past without getting stuck in it. He didn't just switch people out. He carefully passed the torch, which kept the show's character. Kevin didn't stop when the group changed though. He also knew that the way people watch TV was changing. He changed the approach without taking away from what made the show great. When Bob Vila was on, he would walk through a site and explain everything in one long take that could last up to 12 minutes. In Kevin's early days, they would shoot scenes that were 4 to 6 minutes long without cutting them. But people today can't pay attention for as long. Kevin made changes. No longer do camera shots last minutes but seconds. It has faster, sharper, and tighter segments. The show never got dull though. He also changed the questions he asked. At first he talked like a curious homeowner who asked, "What is this?" He asked more in-depth questions over time. How does this work? Why is this done this way? He used his more than 20 years of experience to get people more useful answers without changing the tone to be less tough for newcomers. Kevin also kept the slow, focused style of the show. Other home shows rush through 5 jobs in one episode, but this old house only does 2 full makeovers each season. That's it. But each step is shown and each problem is talked about. It's not just about the wow, it's still about how. That's what fans love about it. After that, the digital age came along, and Kevin was also ready for it. He started Clear Story in October 2019, a show that tells the stories behind home systems. It wasn't just fluff, it was smart, interesting, and in-depth. The talk covered a lot of ground, from how Windows work to why Las Vegas might know how to make water bills go down. The show was a big hit. It's in the top 1% of all podcasts that are watched, and Apple gave it 4.8 out of 5 stars. This old house did something brave in 2021. It worked with Roku. Now you can watch for free all 1,500 episodes of both This Old House and Ask This Old House. They even have a live station that's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Fans can watch whenever they want on any device without a cable. Kevin didn't end there. He helped to create This Old Toolbox, a website where people can rent tools for do-it-yourself projects. It wasn't just a business move. It was the next step toward a clear goal, putting the teaching parts of the show right next to the tools people need to do their jobs. Kevin O'Connor does lead a home improvement show, but what he really does is keep a tradition alive, bring an old model up to date, grow into new platforms, and connect media, education, and real-world action.